Yak'eja yuxsatini yaxana. Qolcha yejni itch. Kelye kuk qashqid. Hechwasaqoqa. Ya ayana khiyatia llakatwe yagi. Achawe talk iti de qunahin. Ye awe wan qanins qoa qatuasaqut talk itit uahai. Achoa. Glade has gakwahuin qoa yesu. Hechwasaqati. Ya ashu de qoa yaidat. Hin tanach kayani disi. Klesladat yuqachtatan aya. Ya dis. Yet shawat aya. Hastudata ya to gachtuhlaat. Wasaha it haswutishi. When qanins aya qanakhawe ldekatwe atshi qa shkalnik. Athas uya. Athas uya aya. Ya shawat Tlingit. Hatla yena nakhawe ldekata nakhsatir qudzati. Achoyach tu yuke. Ya yidat gwall yao qone aya hasqa qwall'uq uyin ldekatwe tsatsi qanachas de tuasaku kedlati qanachas de tuasaku atlen gach aya ldekat yech aya has de tuasaku tsu gach aya aqa aya yejak jagachtu tsu as aya etlini kade has yegachtis ne like ye has qone aqa awe tlug aqaye qati Tlingit tkhai awe wega chuya yis talk aya ldekat ye khaya gwal has aw tlugn ya yidat qad chayek kinki tan nas shitka One qanins aya tldekat we an tsatataya yejini we yao tlas de tosh kukhte hasaw ai ye awa ha ani tataya yutuhtatan one qanins ya hatta chankisani dasawe aya hastu jite gachtuti ya hastu ya akat ake adate jagachtune yewa achtuasaku we ki ani hastu jiwu One qanins akhu ye hasu waji ldekataya hastu ayixsati ikatk ya an Tlingitani
Eusletik qani tiegagink.
Bilchish Jade khatna Ya ohan qa ye khwaji tlha ayix usti aya ye Tlingitani ja akaya ye khutu Tlingitani tuqwani ye awe ha ye jini hastu inye ye khukqa ye khukachtu aya ldekatwe dakhtaseko at ye tlatk aya qanakhawe achtuasaku ju aya hastu jide kakachtu kwach ye awe ha ye jini haqqasi qahayuqatangitin Milchish well, I don't know what I froze up on, but it's great to see everybody. Sing about a lot of stuff. It's springtime, and but sometimes it's getting to be springtime, and then it'll snow, and people get mad. Which I understand. Did I show you guys the little thing that I made though? Because of just a funny. Here it is. Yechwajian talk Tl'anaxéedáḳw hai. I thought it was springtime. Because then people have to shovel and get mad. But yeah, it happens. But then I was sort of thinking about, well, it's getting to be the end of March, so the herring are going to be spawning if they're not already. And that's a really true sign of spring, and that's always like a new year in my brain, you know, because that's when it's time to start eating all the food out of your freezer because you made it. You made it through the winter. Start eating all that stuff, thinking about clearing space for the new stuff you're going to get. Uh, People like to put trees in the water. All the birds, especially the seagulls and the ducks, really like to go and get the herring eggs, you know, and then people put trees in the water to get herring eggs. And it's just great time for Tlingit food. Oh, and then yeah, then I was thinking, uh, what was else? What else was I thinking about? Oh, just like the herring, they used to spawn. I think what I heard all over the place, but now it's just a few places, like over by, you know, they're on Prince of Wales. You get them on the Nos, around Sitka. But you start messing around with the land, you know, people would build the villages further out and build the cities further out, and then you mess up the water, or especially the shoreline, and then they don't come back. And so it's just something I think about. Some people believe that the whole world belongs to humans and that we could just do what we want. But I think we're caretakers, and I always think about the things I was told about future generations and how we don't own it. We're just here to live with the animals and to Hastu Ya'ak, this place that we reserve for our grandchildren. In my mind, it's almost like we're gonna scoop the soil out and just hold on to it till they get here, and then we'll hand it to them. There's a verb for like handing something in like a cupped hand. Um, so I was just thinking about that stuff, and then I probably froze a couple of times in there. So that's probably why that you might not understood it all. So, sheesh. Any thoughts, questions? Gleit kutan achajun an in tauk ite.
Plate kutan akchun.
Was that a snowy summer?
Maybe Tleit Kutanak Junan In just a cut yagi something.
Yeah, well, Cajun, which itchigi, Cajun yagi kanach out ganen at your way, ye has uji kutan husatin. Maybe because it was sun shining for 5 straight days, people thought it was summer. So. Seems like we do this every year about this time, but everybody's tired of winter, I guess. Okay, well, if there's no questions, what I thought I would do is more of this stuff. We'll see how I do for freezing.
Kuning.
Ah,
Ka adat isa ko aki. Achwe akitian uaha. Akawe Ben and Jerry's ko.
Okay. Ben Khajeri Akhsani Hasati. Okay. Well, I was doing some stuff for the radio, and then they said, would you do like a commercial thing for Copa? I was like, yes, I did this little spot for them. But then they told me, like, well, we need, what did they say? We need neutral adjectives. I said, I teach languages. I don't know what you're talking about. They said, you can't say it's great. You have to say people think it's great. So you can't use a valuing adjective. I was like, okay, I'll make a different one. I said all in Tlingit, can I just translate it different? But so they ended up not being able to use it, but I did, and it was too long. But nobody gave me any parameters, and so But it turned out to be a good trade because I think they're going to use it in their website and blog and stuff like that. So I went into Copa and they're like, "That was so great! You did this like promotional thing in Tlingit for our store. Like, what can we give you? And how can I repay you?" And I said, "I like ice cream and food." And so I walked out with a bunch of king crab and ice cream and he's like, "I got biscuits and gravy." I was like, "Bring it on. Just whatever food you think is worth. I'll speak Tlingit for food. Bring it on." And but he ran out of gravy, so it was all biscuits. I'm like, "I don't care. That's all good." So it was fun. Okay, so let's do. We're working on these guys. We'll do some lists, take a break, then go back to Tl'anaxéedáḳw. I think after we're done with this list, we're going to go back into verbs a little bit. Keep talking about that. So my goal here is just like working on concepts, showing you these lists of things that you're going to have to just learn and part of it memorization, then part of it is just using them and really starting to get a feel for how they work. So something you're going to see a lot of is a very short word, ah. So is it's some non-human things, right? And so you're going to see a da, a ka, a dach, a yanach. The is all over the place in Tlingit. That it's there so you could tie usually some sort of other noun or suffix to something. And Tlingit loves to do this. They'll tell you what you're talking about, and they'll switch everything to these third-person pronouns. This is technically a third-person, non-human pronoun. You're also going to see this one that's or which means usually refers to that place. So, for example, I might say "Shqaqwe awe ayeyeti" in Skagway. It is there. So that's what the does. It's in a whole bunch of place names. Verby, yeah, the place where this verb happens. Adutki Dishtiniye is the name for a daycare, a place where people watch over children. Then here's some very, very common relational bases. So these are also called postpositions. They just talk about where something is in relation to something else, right? On it, under it, around it, whole bunch of these types of things. What we're focusing on is making sure we're going to recognize these ones when we see them. They are all over the place. And they sound like this. Ka. Ya. Tu. Okay, that's what they sound like. These ones also can be put right onto a verb, onto the front of a verb. On the front of the verb ka and ya change a little bit. They kind of mean horizontal surface, vertical surface. But on their own like this, they could mean that, but they could also mean on, inside some sort of thing, like you go ka into a cup. This coffee is ka. It's on the cup. That's just how Tlingit thinks about it. Ya is the face of something or the vertical surface. Okay, and then tu is inside of something, usually a closed container or some sort of concept. I'm going to just keep going. Ask questions if you got them. I'll pull a chat room. Okay. So here's some examples. Everybody say, Adayutukhwatan.
Adayutukhwatan.
You can. Oh, I said that stem too long. Adayutukhwatan.
Adayutukhwatan.
I thought about it. Here's another one. They reside there. Ayeyeti.
Ayeyeti.
You forgot it. Akat isewukak.
Akat isewakak.
They were born there. Akudzeti.
Akudzeti.
I am looking at your faces. Yet achliqen.
Yet achliqen.
Believe in yourself. Shtuk anitahin.
Stuk
Anitahin.
Okay, so some of the things that we're just looking for here is the its. And just thinking about these things, the da, right? About. Just keep in mind there's two things that shift in Tlingit when we start using these types of words. They're called postpositions or relational bases. In English, they're usually called prepositions, right? So one is where it sits. So in English, you'll say on the table, around the table, about me, under the house, right? So one is like the word comes first, saying where it's at. In Tlingit, it comes after the noun. Table on, table around, about me, about house.
Your iPad. Oh, right there, Mom.
Okay, so that word order is the one thing. It comes after the noun, so that's why we call it postposition. The other switch is, in English, you'll use object pronouns. Happen to me, under me. Happen to you, under you. Happen to her, under her. So those are all, right, that tells you what type of pronoun you're using. Tlingit uses a possessive pronoun. So about me, achda. About you, ida. About this singular person, duda. About us, hada. About y'all, yida. About those plurals, hasduda. Then you have da, about it. Okay? So just sort of looking at them. Here's the at that place. Usually we've already referred to it. Oh, maybe I'm freezing again. Dang it. So we've already referred to the place. So huna away. Yeyeti, right? You could say huna yeyeti, but once you've named it, you could just say yeyeti. It's there. Then I'll tell you what's in huna. Here's both the its and then on and then to arrive at. A cut. It has arrived on it. Sewukak. You're forgetting of it. Really interesting, forgetting uses an object pronoun. Objects usually mean it happens to you. So it's like forgetting happened to me. Look at that. There is another way to say forgot it. And you'd say which really means like I lost it. I threw it and it got lost. So that's usually refers to like I should know it. I know it, but I'm not. I lost it. I've also heard somebody use that to say my spouse just recently died. It was a sad thing just to hear, right? Here's the again. Akudzeti. They were born there, or it was born there. Here's y'all's face. Ye yet, right? So ye yet achliqen. Here's the inside. Shtuk, to your own inside. Anidahin, believe it. Believe your own inside.
Is that a plus D on achliqen?
Yes.
How come that's there?
What's that?
Why is that there?
some verbs are just sort of naturally seen as plus D. So to gaze upon something is considered a plus D. So you're also kind of the object in that. And it's also a motion verb, which is really interesting, right? So if I said, I looked towards your faces, I'd say, Yade So that would go long and low. But yeah, there's something about this one. And this means like to glance at something or to gaze at it. But if you said like, you could also say, Yiyach I'm watching your face. It's a little bit different. But yeah, it's a good question. Some of them are just naturally plus D, and that's usually because the subject is also the object. So there's something about that where I'm doing something to myself when I glance at something.
Okay, because I've heard the phrase Untitled, but there's no plus D in that one.
Uh-oh, did I make a mistake?
I'm trying to understand the plus Ds.
Uh-huh. Hell no. Well, I would expect it to be plus D. And so, but let's take a look at it. Oh, I know. So this is probably what it is. Made me nervous. I messed it all up. Okay. So I could say ye yet auch ren. Okay. So this is right there. I am, and this is also, it's interesting because it has to be, it has to have already happened. So even though it's present tense, it's a perfective verb. So if I put any other verb in front of this, yak-a, gunchish, achtuwu, yak-a, and if I want to say it's this verb because of this, or to this, right, whatever, that, I guess is maybe better. This has to go through two changes. One is the classifier has to go, the I gets knocked out of it. So in this case, that would change to that, achwash. And then it gets a suffix, and this suffix, just the construction of this basically pushes the verb long and low. So just like yak-a ichsatini, the si, like ichsatin, like here's another example. That's a good question to think about for a second. So this would be on its own. Oops, not yet. Forget that part. What am I doing? I was in a meeting today and I was doing like a Google document and they're like, this really hurts to watch you do this, but I don't know how to help. So ichsatin is I see you. It's a similar type of verb where it must have already happened in order to say it. So this could be ichsatin yesterday, ichsatin right now. But if I put some other verb in front of it, it's blank that blank. Now this also, it goes to the minus I form and it gets the I. Yak-a ichsatini. And yeah, I have a friend and we were teasing each other. It was all teasing, but we were trying to think of like mean things to say to each other. So we'd say, ach tu yanik ichsatini. When we'd see each other, like, I'm sad that I've seen you. But we're just kidding. It's just, you know, but just like as far as how this works, you're basically going to be putting this in kind of a negative form. It's an interesting thing. It's blank to blank. And so that's why you would hear, ach tu yakayatakhwalqaini. That's how you would hear somebody say it. It's tied to another verb.
Wow, goodness cheese.
Ah, glad I didn't make a mistake. I probably did. but not that one. So
I'm not sure I understand.
Chatsu. I don't know why the watch needs to talk to me sometimes. Okay, so to review, here's these same suffixes. Dach or tch or ch, de, nach, ti, wu, ch. Okay, from, towards, through or along, arriving at, just generally is or are at. And so these four, just keep in mind, all of these are at. 4 different ways to say being at someplace. Arrived at, is at, can't use a verb with this one. Residing or resting at, moving around or repeatedly coming to. All of them are at, but just depends how it's there. Here's 3 more. The CH, which marks either who is doing the verb or what they're doing the verb with. Gawgwachich, Ayawadlach. They defeated them with a drumstick. Okay, so it could mark kuhitach, shachwachich. I bonked him on the head with a pencil. But you can also, this is used to mark who is doing the thing. If it gets a little unclear, like there's this, then you read that mosquito story, you'll hear him say, it was the cannibal that did that. Okay. Qa is to go after something, or to sometimes to waiting for as well, right? So aqaqnashi, look for it. Qa, that's the same it's aqa, but that one they just kind of smoosh together. Aqa away, when you're saying that, you're using this one. Or let's say 2 people run into each other. Wasasiyati, heshasachatuti wa eqa. Nachtuyake. Wasataninain. Ah, yidatawe, hundakihiti degan khakut. Ha, dat kasa. Kahwe ka. Right, so you're going to get something. That's qa. Or you're waiting for something. Iqa kliyeyechatkawati. I'll just be here waiting for you. Right? Ach iqaqanu. Ya. Wait for me here. Sit and wait for me here. So that's qa. The other one is this.
How is this one related to the ba that's like ba-yati?
That one is its own word, and so it's not a suffix. So it doesn't attach to anything. It's always a low tone, and I guess it is. Yeah, I think it's always a low tone, and it means pleasant, but it does attach to shtuqa. That's probably technically, I don't know if that's a compound. That's a good question, but qayati means qa is fitting or pleasant. So you say qaqaqwati. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. But yeah, that's a different word. It's a good question. So you'll hear it in shtuqa or tuqa. Do tuqawuti. He felt good about it.
Or is that like the ga we were talking about that last time when you were telling me about ga nach?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yep.
Qanachtidi, qanakhati. Yeah. So it's pleasant, it's peaceful. But that qa is also used to think like, it's used in constructions like they thought it was enough. They thought they had picked enough berries. You'll hear qa often in there. And sort of like it's reached this level where oh, okay. So yeah, qa, like qanach, Qa, and then nach, that's a compound. Qa is pleasant, and nach is a bay. Okay. So the N is with or using as, you're using something. So sometimes you'll hear the CH. Kuhitach ashawachich. They beat him over the head with a pencil. Or you could say, I gotta find some, I'm always using like clubbing verbs. I don't know. But you could say kuhida away on ashawachich. So it was a pencil. With it, they clubbed him on the head. So, and it could be anything. So that's, sometimes you'll see on, and it looks like village, but it's a different kind of on. And you'll see this N, usually it's going to be een or teen. It's kind of built into those two. Okay. So here's the the it. Okay. So we're going to see this all over the place in Tlingit. When you put the CH on there, you get ach, which is because of it or with it. In the context of speaking, ach away, right? Shukach dach away ohan. Ach away shukach adi. Yuchatu asak. We are from Shukach. That is why people call us Shukach adi. Kawakani hit aya. You do sak in hahiti. Ach away ka guantan. You hatu asak. So it's like a really cause and effect type thing. That is why, right? Or there could be other things, right? Monsters walk around at night. That's why I don't want to go over there. Okay, so that's the ach. Aqa. So there's that one. After it, following it. This one's usually just a straight time type thing. Aqa away. And then, following that. Oops. Dach. Or ach. From it. So this could also be used as a time marker, but more like from that, this other thing. So it's a little bit more sort of tying it to cause and effect than straight time. So like she went there to build a canoe out of birch bark, and from that got in the water and left, right? So it could be sort of like just sort of putting things in terms of this happened, and then from that thing, this other thing happened. Ach is also used in a whole bunch of verbs for like pick it up. Ach kekate. Ashkachuk. Pick up a card. Right? We're playing cards or gambling, whatever. Ade. Towards it. So that could be just straight up like, yeah. You see tinge we hit ade naku. Do you see that house? Go towards it. So once you've named the thing or pointed it out, it often switches to this thing. Ade also has a couple of special uses for verbs, right? Ade, verbi, those types of things. On, with it. Yagucha aya, on wugut. Atukane awa on yanakat. They're walking with their baby. So now they're holding the baby. Baby's not walking, so it shouldn't be a plural verb. If the baby's walking, then they're yasna'at. Anach, through it, along it. You'll see this in a bunch of place names. Chakuch anach adiyeh. There's a lake north of Skagway called the place where people pack a hide canoe. Anach, right? It's built in there. At, to arrive at. Sometimes it could be moving around at, depends how it's being used. Awu, is at. Ach, or residing at, located at. Ach, moving along or repeatedly coming to. there's a lot, but so it's sort of like once you see these suffixes though, you'll start seeing them all over the place. It's just more and more pattern recognition, recognizing those little parts, seeing how they interact with these other parts. Everybody all right? Ka. So not all of them can work. Ka doesn't work, and kach, it doesn't work. There's no, logically it doesn't make sense. But quite a few of them do. From the top of, so you could say ka dakh, or you got to put something in front of that, right? Let's say nadak kach. The potato is rolling off the table, right? So going off of the surface of something, from the top of it. So you're going to take something off of it. This would be the one. And you could say ka dakh or kach. But as you consult these tables, look at the tone. It's high here. It gets pushed low in almost, in quite a few forms, but not all of them. You just got to kind of remember this stuff. Ka de, going to be on top of it. So you could say, ha ka de siu guchsatan, or siu dak guchsatan. It's gonna rain on us. Right? So what am I saying? I'm saying, oh, here comes the rain, and we're here, and maybe we don't have jackets, right? So I gotta, right? It's so. The other thing to remember with day is that's gonna pop up on a lot of future forms. So you would say, ach kat siu dak wusatan. It's raining on me, or it rained on me. Ach ka de siu dak guchsatan. It's going to rain on me. There's a few verbs that do that. They'll switch to day in the future. Kanach or kanach. Kanach, kanach. That could be along the top, over the top, going, like if something's going to go over the mountain. Kanach. Sha kanach ayagach taqin. We're going to go over that mountain in a plane. I think I said flying, right? Cut, to arrive on top of it. Kawu. Gusu achatiqayi. Nadak kawu. On the table. Where are my keys? On the table. Kach or ka. Ka is very common, right? You'll just see this. Tsuhakakewa. It's right there. It dawned on us again. Kach. Repeatedly moving around or coming back to. So those are all the ka ones. You'll see them all over the place now that you sort of look at these lists, see how they get put together, see the parts. A few more. Ya, the vertical surface. Ya dach, yach. That could work for like, okay, you know a mountain? As you get close to the top, it gets steeper. That's called shaya. Shaya dach wugu tui janmu. The mountain goat went down from up on the mountain face, right? Up on top of the mountain. You could say, Achyach wudeqin, lechin. That fly flew off of my face, which like, why was on my face anyways? Yade, towards the face. And so again, that yet, that one we did, outleqin, yade akqalqin. That person's gonna look at your faces. I don't know why I'd say it, but I could. Ya nach or ya nach, through the face or along the face of. This one also, I should add, going past. So if I said Super Bear Day na koch, and then we're driving and talking, and you just go driving right on past Tla'anaxéedáḳw Hoots, my favorite grocery store, Super Bear. Say, ha, ayanach ya koch. Wait, you're driving right by it, right? Yanach. Achiti yanach wukuch. They drove by my house. Yet, arriving at the face of Yet achwalqain. Yet achwalqain. Yabu. It's on atcha iti awe yabu. You got crumbs on your face. Atcha iti yabu. In case you need to say it. You say it in Tlingit. One time a friend of mine, like we were all eating, he had long hair and his hair was down. He's got a little bit of egg in his hair. I was trying to be real subtle. I just went like that to him. So he went like that. I was like, and then he ended up like just crushing eggs all over in his hair. I was like, you got egg in your hair. I had to say it. But if we spoke Tlingit, I could have said, Kotaya ishachawu. I guess that one I'd have to say ishawu keeti. Yach or ya at the face of. Right? Yach, repeatedly coming to the face of. In that Tl'anaxéedáḳw story, that Yach is probably in there. It kept coming up to their faces. That little bird. Tuh. Oh, go ahead.
I've been wanting to learn how to say more than. Is that the same yanach? Do you use that when you're comparing? Oh.
No, it's a different one. So see how it goes low right there? Yanach. That one is yanach. So it's high in both of them. So ayanach. And that's how you could just say ayanach yak'e. It's better than it. And that could mean better than before. So yeah, that's a good question. So yanach is more, qin is less than. Ach yanach yak'e. They're taller than me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's tu. And tu does get, maybe that is a different tuqa. Anyways, we'll just do it anyways. Tuqa, pleasing, liked, wanted. I don't think that's actually from that going after one. Tudach, tutch. So from the inside of it. Katuk tutchukut. Like a bear or like a wolverine or something came out of a cave. Tude, to go inside of it. Tude, kukwati. I'll put it in this bag. Tunach, through the inside of it. Wuch tunach wuchakak. That's the name of a wren. It lands inside of a hole, lands through a hole. Toot, to be located at the inside of it. Tuwu, that's different than tuwu, but they're probably certainly related. Tuwu, katuk tuwu aya, with hoots. That brown bear is in that cave. Tuch, tuch, residing inside, being inside. This one I would add. That's totally fine to have it that way. But that's why you say ituyeyeti, because it'll just go long, as opposed to having the it can just go long. Couple things to remember, okay? So with this w, that suffix to is, are, at, when it's negative, it has to go away. Ach ji wu, klech ach ji. So there's no suffix on there. Klech, you can't say klech ach ji wu, because that w means it is there. So not is there doesn't make sense. Klech ach ji, not my possession. Yadu, it's here. Kechyat. So how would I say, let's say we're taking attendance, and I called someone's name, and or if I said, where's someone? And if they're right next to you, you can say Yaduhu or Weiduhu, right? But if I said someone's name, they're not here. Keshyathu. Nang skatas.
I was wondering, like, so Yadu is it's here. Can that also mean like right here?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Geez.
So yeah, it's a Yadu, Yadu, Yadu keys. This bracelet is right here. Yep. And then Weidu, Keshwait. It's not over there. Neish. It's at home. Keshneish. It's not home. Abu. It's there. Kesh'a. It's not there. Duyabu. Not on their face. Keshduya. It's not on their face. Okay. We got another set of lists, but I think I might save this one for next time. These lists, I mean, we kind of moved through these, but I think we hit like a full point. And so we'll go back into the stories. But the next thing we are going to look at, and then there's just this whole list of them. And what I try to do is working with Zeosh and a few others, James Crippen, he's a Tlingit linguist, is trying to figure out like what are the most common ones and then work on those, and then we'll move to this other set. So these ones are independent, so that means they don't have to belong to a noun. So akina is above it. Ach kina, above me. But deki is just way up high. It doesn't need to have a noun before it. So that's the next set we're going to look at. It's just a set of like up above, down below, south, north, these general sort of directional type of things. But let's take our break. So I'll come back at 6:45, or unless you're in a different time zone, whatever 10 minutes from now is, and then we'll move back into our Tl'anaxéedáḳw story. Chish. Okay. Wasasiyetiyuhan. Okay.
Again.
Jeez.
Right, you're tagging fish.
Okay, what equa?
Wasakhatoti. Jeez. Okay, back to our Tl'anaxéedáḳw. So we come back in the stories, looking for things, recognizing more and more patterns and stuff, and then ask questions about things that you want to know a little bit more about, and we'll try and figure them out. So I think we left off here, maybe? Okay. Anybody want to read first? Conscish.
Chutlekusu sati tle chutla.
Read to the period.
Oh, Yakawan. Tle de Hawu ye Tlayat. You are way ut way takwane so.
Sheesh.
Oh.
So we do see goose here used with verbs, which is pretty unusual. That usually does not happen. So so we see this repetition of tle and chutle. It seems to me when they start repeating that a whole bunch, they're saying like all the stuff, it was happening, a whole bunch of stuff was happening at once, right? Or like these things were all causing these things to all go at the same time. So yekliyat is to be so long or tall. You they say, we ut that thing. We tokanitsu. So all this fur, all these furs that she's wearing becomes her long hair all around her.
Chutle chastuya awe yidehide. Awe we telegraph creek dak awe we ak ish as kutiyen kach adik as wusiti.
Sheesh. So yep. Awe. Now then, right? So it's just sort of like moving the story along. Oh wait, let's see this one first. Chutle chastu ya awe du dayide du watin. So just then, only do ya. So the du would be the tokane, the baby's face. Awe you daide, down below. Duatin, it can be seen. There's the dach, so we could throw the dach right onto place names that are not in Tlingit. Honolulu dachawechwakut. Right? And then achish haskustiyin. So this verb, kudziti, is born. Kudziti is existing. Kustiyin, used to exist. So my father's people, that might be high. Okay. Qach'adich haswusati. So they were Qach'adi, which is a clan that's originally from Cake, but there were quite a few that went up into the interior.
Funny.
Ah,
That sentence when they say Christian, is that because his father's people used to exist, or because they used to be in Telegraph Creek and then they moved?
I would probably think it's the second one. But it's kind of like that would be my sort of default interpretation. But if you were to say like something bad happened and then you said that, I'd be like, ooh, they all got wiped out. But usually if you're gonna say they got wiped out, you would use hashuwahich, which was like they all died off. Yeah. So kusti, and it used to, because it could also, it doesn't, so like kusti also means life. So it could be like they just lived, they lived there, right? Okay. Okay. Yisat.
Ja, du gaat.
Ah,
Hast du kakao je tien? Nuts al you do sagen.
sheesh. So this one is yati, yeyati, yewuti, yekwati, yetian. Used to be, right? And then you dusagen. So we're getting lots of these decessive things. So she's talking about people that used to live somewhere. And in this case, when someone says you dusagen, you just sort of can assume that person is gone. That's how they're referencing them.
Huawei du ish ka du tla Tl'anaxéedáḳw ways du yati ways du yadi ways du yeet.
Sheesh. So hu'awe. So it was them, and that's usually who we're talking about. Du ish katitla. Tl'anaxéedáḳw. So Tl'anaxéedáḳw means one person. Like earlier when we're doing introductions, and I was saying like, there's 15 people left. There's 14 people left, right? And just doing a little countdown of people. So nach is a suffix you put on numbers to count people. Tl'anaxéedáḳw, dachnach, naskinach, dachuninach, kejininach. And you're just counting people. But Tl'anaxéedáḳw can also mean alone. And that it depends on the context, right? I think there was a stand-up comedian. He said, "How did we go from I did it all by myself," and then he sings that song all by myself. It's like a sad song, right? And so a similar thing, right? So Tl'anaxéedáḳw could be I just want to be by myself. And then, but in certain cases, Tl'anaxéedáḳw, they were lonely. It just depends on how it's being used. But in this case, Tl'anaxéedáḳw ways do G yeti ways do yeti. They only had one child. Right? And so this was probably considered it's probably a little bit unusual if you go back this far for someone to only have a single child. Most people had quite a few. And then ways do yeet, it was their son. So that's just sort of affirming that the child was a boy. Good. Somebody read.
Saquejas, I'll see what you are. Awe chak, awe you are. Yut at awe chintaya kudus ach. Atahi you do a sak.
Sheesh. So this dasa, right? So dasa is usually some sort of what question or what construction. But if you put anything in between the da and the sa, it's going to switch to dot. So like remember we were talking about that word earlier, yanach, right? More than. you could say, Dat Tl'anaxéedáḳw. What is more valuable? Right. And so that one's usually like a riddle. Like I heard an elder say, Dat Tl'anaxéedációnhayu. Which he was saying like nothing's more valuable. But Dat Yachsa Kehas Ausa, what you are. And so in this case, it could be seen as a question. What was it like when they raised him? Dat Yachsa, what's it like? Kehas Ausa, what? So Ke uwa what is for someone to grow up. Ke Ausa what is for someone to raise somebody. So we see that switch to the S classifier changes it from growing up to raising. Away you are. That's it. Long ago they say, Yut-at, that one way over there. Right? So there's the yu built into there. Yut-at. You could say yat-at, this one, or yat-a is how you'll usually hear. Yat-a, wait-a, hate-a, yut-a. This one, that one, this one, that one way over there. Jinta is the palm of the hand. So pretty interesting, because remember we talked about that talk is to be in a cavity. Your hand is a cavity. Jintak. Somehow, I don't know if you got curly feet, but your talk. That's the what do you call them? You don't call them palms of your feet. What do you call them? Anybody know?
Souls.
Souls.
You got foot palms. So,
We're all disgusted with you, Renee.
well, you know, if you say qsqeq, so my daughter, she used to call them foot fingers for a long time. It was very cute. So, Jinta is in the palm. Yan Tl'anaxéedáḳw. They used to, they would put them into their palms. And then, so this is a type of gambling. There was lots of different types of stick gambling. I'm not sure how many types remain. There was a whole bunch, like, guess what kind of thing it is, guess which hand the thing is in, and like, it's pretty serious business. I'm gonna match up our punctuation here. Okay. Whoever wants to go, read as much as you want to.
An tle kua kwasatin, you an adus ka you are, ka jidut utkat.
Sheesh. So here's the on with it. So she starts to say with it, and then she kind of thinks about something else. I didn't see it, right? So she's just trying to tell you, like, I just heard about this thing. You on adulka. So adulka is gambling. People are gambling. On adulka, people are gambling with it. So it could be, you could be talking about cards. You could be talking, but she'd already named it up here. Atahi. You ka jidukt. Very cool verb. So the tuk means to shoot something with an arrow, right? So this is a pretty specific verb. Like a lot of us know, like awa shot it. And in this case, awa tuk shot it with an arrow. So we get two different verbs depending on how what you're shooting it with. But that is the same. It's like you're gonna shoot it with an arrow. So they're gonna go like this. I do this with my dog all the time. Put a little treat, like, you know, they have these stick gambling games. And then they'll hold their hands out, and you gotta guess which hand it's in. And that verb is tuk. You gotta like, I don't know, shoot it with an arrow, right? But in this case, you get the j in front of it. Ka, people, hand, people, shooting repeatedly. So that's saying, people guess which hand it's in. It's like you're gonna just, probably because if you've ever seen stick gambling, it's very exciting. A lot of stuff going on. There's people, someone with a drum, Then they have two coaches and they're yelling stuff and people are on either side. I was watching. I was like, I have no idea how to do this, but this is so exciting. And then they would point and then people would yell. And so they'd do all kinds of stuff to try and get you to not see what they're... And the basics was they're putting their hand under a blanket and putting one thing in the hand. And there's like whole championships for this. And long time ago, people were invested. They'd lose their boats, all kinds of stuff. Who wants to go next? Let's keep it going.
Always. Away to play do ich at what do the catch play. To play chess ya could the catch.
Sheesh. So here's this verb we might know as a yawadlach, yagachtudlach. So we do use this verb. This verb means, on its own, it could mean to win, to succeed, to obtain something, or to defeat somebody. So like I'll play, my son he used to love to play blackjack, just all day long, blackjack, blackjack, blackjack. So then we'd play and say, oh, chatyetlach, you beat me. Then I would win. I'd say eyachwadlach. But I try to like get him to realize it's not a big deal because he gets so mad if he'd lose. I'm like, yeah, it's not a big deal. But in this case, this first one's a little bit different. Du ich at would do tlach. In this case, it's saying people they beat him and they took all his stuff. There's a few different things going on in there. The classifier switching. Now it's going du ich. But remember we're talking about those suffixes, right? The T, dach, de, the underline X, so to be at repeatedly. So this is going to be in repetitive forms. Ha, wait, ach, ich dashi, That's the one that helps me all the time, right? And that repetition is taken care of sometimes with this suffix. But with these suffixes, you cannot put them onto a pronoun. You cannot put them onto a kinship term. And you cannot put them onto a name. So you can't say Tl'anaxéedáḳw, and you can't say Tl'anaxéedáḳw, and you can't say dudach. You cannot do that. Because of that, these two little e's exist. They don't mean anything. They're just there so you can put a suffix onto one of those things. Tl'anaxéedáḳw, Tl'anaxéedáḳw, do idach, especially for verbs. Some verbs have what we call like an indirect object. So the object's like it's happening to them. But then sometimes you have the indirect, which is like, I told it to them. Gunchish ach in kiyanigi. Thank you for telling it to me. So that one, let me just make a new thing right here. So right here, ach in kiyanik. That is, you told it to me. So then we see like, I am not the object there. If I was the object, I would say chat kiyanik. You told on me. So they're a little different, right? So this would be like, I've been sneaking into the pantry and eating all the candy, and then you said, oh, Renee's been eating all the candy. Why'd you tell on me, right? So this is the one. You'll see it in some of the Raven stories. They'll say, Ke'ik kwanik, I'm going to tattle on you. And then he usually rips their tongue out. So that's how that one goes. Okay. So then we get chutle, just then. Chas, I gotta fix capitalization here. Chas ya yakdudlach. people were always defeating him. He was always, so he's here. He's just getting beat all the time. He's losing at gambling. Who wants this?
Where do Adi do ik Tl'anaxéedáþw at Tl'anaxéedáþw ana snitch Tla do ich would the larch.
Cheese. So das away. So in this case, it's not even a question thing. So you can use dasa to be like whatever. Dasa way do adi, whatever was his, right? So this is ut. Ut is used an awful lot. All those clans ending with adi and adi have ut just built right into them. Do e to him. Do ik dutleheni. In this case, the things that, these are things that he was given. The verb root is to claim. So usually you're going to see watuahain, right? So if you're talking about clans, you can say chichchawe watuahain. Or you can say chich yahayi watuahain. We claim the image of the frog. So in this case, do ik dutleheni at, the things that he was, he'd been given. Chutleye anasnichtle. He's always doing that. This one we probably know as, let me turn these underlines off. Ye ausene is how we'll usually hear that one on the coast. So two things is people say auseni in the interior, and also in cake, and also southern Tlingit. But annasnich is like he does it all the time. So you're going to get a ch in here. Then you're usually going to get the conjugation prefix, right? So just here's another thing about verb modes is you can't just put a ch on there. There's usually one other step. So yeyati, yewuti, yekwati, yetian, yenatich. All the same verb, but just doing different things. Yeyati, it is that way. Yewuti, it became that way or it was that way. Yetian, it used to be that way. Yekwati, it will be that way. Yenatich, it's always that way.
In the a couple lines up when it says ch'asya yakdudlakch. Yeah, the ch is added at the end, but then is that mode? What mode is that yakdudlak?
That's a good question. So this, it's got this habitual ending. Okay, hold on. Let me look up that verb real quick.
It's hard for me to understand how, like, what mode it goes to if you make it repetitive.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that one because this could be doing something different, right? Because so if we look, hold on, let me show you folks so going, where'd it go? So if we look here, so we have, here's to succeed or to obtain it, to defeat somebody. And so this is a na verb. So yanatlaq, that's how you'd command someone. Win, defeat them. Has yanatlaq, go beat them, right? Don't win it, right? So we start moving through these things. Yawadlaq, won. Yakquatlaq, going to win. And then we get this is kind of what we should be expecting. Untitled. So that's what we should expect for like, you know, I don't know, whoever. They win every time. Tom Brady, Untitled, or whatever you want to say, right? Or if, you know, we got to bring, I guess gambling is one of the things. We got to bring this gambling back. Like stick gambling. That's a domain I want to be a part of reclaiming, but only if I win. No, I'm just kidding. And so this, in case you're wondering where to find these verbs, so let's see. So I go to tlingitlanguage.com. Usually it's under resources. I think it's under a couple places. Beginning materials. Hopefully it's all working. So here's the, there's a couple things to know about this. One, this is the work of Carrie Eggleston. It's a wonderful project. You can go here to read about the history of the project and the speakers that she worked with. But there's two things. So this one is the web page. Oh, it might not work. Okay. I gotta fix that. Oops. Yeah, let's go to this one. So if we go to Intermediate Tlingit, it should work here. So this should be the different link. So here it is on the web. But the key is like you need internet to use this. So there is another option here which you can download it, and it does download this little file. Then you can open that file right from a web browser. So it looks the same, but then if you're on the road, you can take some long flight to Hawaii, and you want to work on Tlingit for the 6-hour flight from Seattle to Hawaii because you're a good Tlingit student. Be like, oh, I'm not going to have internet because I want to pay the $14, whatever they're going to charge me for internet on the plane. Well, now you can download this and you've got it locally. I don't think, there's not really an option yet for the phone, but you can download this. And so that's where you find that thing. So when we encounter that kind of stuff, so then we sort of start to get this set of rules, but then we see this and you say, well, how come that's not Untitled? So this tells me there's something else going on here. And it could be, it's quite likely that there's some other form of this verb that is maybe g conjugation as opposed to na. And maybe that's what the ya is doing here. And so that would, because a g does change to the k, right? The other thing is there could be another version of this, which is ya ka, because the ka can also sometimes contract to a k. So I'll mark it and I'll go, I'll do a deeper dive on this one, see if I could find anything.
The other thing I was wondering about is how it says ya, yakdidlach, and I usually see ya, like ya and a good, ya and a kin, like if it's happening right now. So that's why I get a little bit confused about.
Yeah, so the ya is kind of like either like in the process of happening, or it can sometimes mean sort of like it's just going back and forth like this. And it's probably the second one. So yeah, I'll take a look, because this is the thing, is like when you get into these mastered storytellers, they'll just drop some verb. It's like, and not only that, it's like, oh, we've never heard of it. Oh, and also it's not written down anywhere, right? So don't be surprised if you run into stuff like that. But you would expect just, yeah, that's what I would expect in a, so there's could be a couple other things that are unusual here. It is possible, because you do see this ya in some kind of interesting spots. Like this is get a little bit advanced here. So remember, let's see, where am I going to go? How am I going to explain this? Hold on. think I'll use, do I have it here? Well, I guess I'll just use this, okay. Oops. So going back to Tlingit verbs, right? And when we look up a verb and we're trying to internalize this information, get used to like seeing some kind of code, that code tells us what to do with all this information, right? So this tells you yay could be there, but it doesn't have to be. That's usually what the parentheses do. It's like, that's pretty common, but it doesn't have to be there. This is what we call a thematic prefix. So k refers to a given space and quite often refers to weather. It's a bit of a complicated concept. I have some theories on what k is, but right now we'll just say it means like some given space. The verb is going to conjugate in between the thematic prefix. So you're going to go have it, there's no object, but if there was, it would go right here. Then you're going to get this thematic business. Then you'd have conjugation stuff, perfective, the ga, any of that stuff goes right here. The subject, this doesn't have one. Nobody's making the weather a certain way. The classifier, the verb root. This is telling you some stuff about the stem, and this combines with other stuff to tell you whether it's going to be short and high, t, long and low, t, long and high, t. It's going to be one of those three. And then this little number 1 says there's some other t verb, like to handle something. There's one to imitate. Then we get into here. There's a na verb. Okay, so this is na conjugation. That tells you if you are going to command the weather, you'd say, yeah, kunati, right? I don't know, but you're not a weather commander. But if you were, that's how you'd say it, right? So ye nati, be that way, right? So that tells you how to do the command form, and that tells you when you start to get those other complicated forms, this na is going to pop up sometime. Ye kunatich, ya kushagoose. That's how the weather always is here. Cloudy, right? So there's also the type of verb, a state, for something to be a certain way. But here's where we add some layers of complication. If this was a motion verb, it could be any one of the 4 conjugation types. Most verbs, it's like, that's what it is, that's what it stays as. If this is na, it's na. If this is 0, it's 0. A motion verb can be any one of those 4, depending on what type of motion it is. That's what makes them a little bit crazy. So that's why you say, hagu, come in, or neish, come here, neishgu. They don't have anything before that verb. But you would say, wede nagu, hade nagu. The day is what pushes it to na. Adach nagu, get away from it. You can also say, kegagu, go up there. Yeqagu, go down there. But then there's this pretty wild one. Yagagu. And that just means walk. And so we learned this one because I was hearing it too. Yagagutch. How was the phrase? I was like, is it walking like up something? And she's like, no. You're just saying the porcupine walks slow. And I saw it again in this book, Town Bear, City Bear, An Kahudzi, Askatuhudzi, I think they call it. And the town bear is teaching the other bear, like, you just dig in the trash and get food. It's not hard. But then a dog starts barking and he says, Gishich, Gishich. That just means run, not in any direction, just run. And we had to use this for kids in the language nest, because there's a couple things. One is we want to stop doing like, don't do this, don't do that, and do these sort of things where like you tell them what to do. So we were saying yagagu, walk. When they're running, just say yagagu. So it could be this thing where like he's going along getting defeated. It could be something advanced like that, where you're getting this combination of the going along and then you're getting the habitual form. Okay. But he's losing. That's a he's losing. Okay. And then here's that thing again. They keep getting it from him, all his stuff. Okay, we have time for a few more.
Yaduha. Oe Yesu. Yesu. Shakade. Awayas Naat. Tl'anaxéedáḳw.
Sheesh. So Awe Yesu. Awe is like sort of like, and now the Yesu part puts it as like just then or right now. Kind of depends on how it's being used. Yesu des. Now this time. Dukla kaduish shakade. There's that kade, right? Going up on the mountain. Awes yas naat. They are on their way up on to that mountain. And so like, just in the like she didn't have to repeat the verb, right? Then it's just happening all the time. And we already know what she's been talking about, right? Because she said, like, he keeps losing, he's losing, he's losing. And what she's telling you is like, this guy is a gambling addict, right? That's what he is. Try to fix these guys up. Right there. Okay, let's read this one.
Wanani sawe dutla ye yawaka plek ak yitk shawat itinach ayu plechas u ashka ye adene.
Sheesh. Wanani sawe is another great thing to know how to do. It's just says at some point. It's literally saying at what point, but I don't know. It's a special construction. And what you're doing, aqa away is like the next thing in the story. Wanani sawe is we're jumping way ahead. That's how you do like this big time shift, right? To say sometime later, Dutlaye yawaka, she said. The tlek gu'ah is a really interesting thing. Like tlek is no, gu'ah is like hoping for. But then there's just some combination there that puts it into this. I know, right? Ach yitk. Especially for inland speakers, when you're talking about your own kids, you're usually going to put this k on there. Ach sik, ach yitk. And then we know itinachyati or itinachyati. But here we don't need the verb. Shawat atinach ayu. He needs a woman. Klaichasyu ashkaye adene. He's just working at gambling. Who wants to do it?
Edgs shawat ye Untitled Agawe on to Guatle you away Hayaka.
Sheesh. So again, so we see the jiyis for someone. So you can verb for somebody, right? Yanachtusaqa. So this one is yausaqa. So if you're going to put something into a hortative, you're going to activate whatever the conjugation prefix is. In this case, ya. So you'd say ye yanasqa. Say it to them. Ye yanach. And then it's going to get qa. So that's why, and qa will turn into ch pretty regularly. Yanachtusaqa. Let's say it to them. Let's inquire about. Let's ask for the price sometimes. It depends how it's being used. Let's make a promise. And then with it, shtukakqushte, or clay. There's a t on there, and there's a ka on there. Kakwa is a third person, or sometimes there's no subject, future form. You owechayaqa. That's what she's saying. Also, just like watch when storytellers are going, they drift in time, right? Because let's say this, or she said that, and then that's what she's saying, right? Because this is an imperfective form. Like if someone is doing it right now, that's what you'd say. But then with Tlingit, there's something about the time switches that's really interesting. Like if you're feeling overwhelmed, stick with what we're doing, right? Just read it, look for these things. It's not a big deal. The English is right here. But if you're looking for more, start identifying what kind of verb mode is this? Hortative, future, imperfective. And you start to just sort of find these things. Then if you could find that, well, what's the root? Ka. What's the stem? Long and low. Long and low. Short and high. And just start noting that stuff. What's the classifier? Hey, that's an L classifier. Hey, that's a S classifier. Hey, that's an L classifier. That's a 0, right? It's yeah. And just keep an eye on that stuff. Or actually, it's gone. It's right there. Okay. Okay, so here we are. So chachu is among the people, right? So she went among the people. She doesn't go she'd go wife shopping for her son because he just gambles way too much. Okay, well, we'll leave it here. Let's see. Can you guys, let's pick a topic. What do you want to make 5 sentences about over the weekend and share it with us on Tuesday? Any ideas? We've done food, we've done other things. Springtime. Okay, there we go. So think about spring, the season, anything you want to sort of talk about, and whatever types of verbs you want to use. Look at that database that we were looking at earlier that has the verbs. Like so many of them are already built for you. So you could just plug them in, start thinking about just stuff you want to share with us. So we'll start Tuesday with everybody sharing 5 sentences, and then we'll move back into our lists of these suffixes and stuff, and then back to our story.
And just a question, just so, and when are we gonna ever pick up the translation?
Oh, that's right. Okay. Well, since the Tl'anaxéedáḳw is there and you can read it on your own time, maybe we should transition. So yeah, let's start looking at that next week then. And then we'll
Okay.
pick up maybe Tl'anaxéedáḳw when we're done. Read it if you want the spoiler, but otherwise hold it, and we'll start moving through, and we'll start talking about how do you translate stuff, and how do you look stuff up, and what do you do when you get stuck, and because we're gonna get stuck all the time. It's just gonna happen, but it's fun because then sometimes we just keep investigating, and we'll find something like, oh, this is just some unusual form of the verb or something. So, cheesh for the reminder. That's a good point to move into that assignment that I gave you. Okay. Yewish tu steen guns cheesh.
Sheesh.
Cheesh. Ganesh cheesh.
Ganesh Chish.
Jeez.